It's true. Like what happened is you can be in shape, but being in fighting shape, it's something very different. And when you haven't done something for a long time, you lose the efficiency. So I remember when I first got back sparring, it was very hard for me. I got tired very fast. I was too stiff, and it took maybe like a month to get it all back. And now I feel better than I actually was before I got hurt.
Well, this question's been asked quite a few times, and we could go back and forth about it. I see George St-Pierre as the champion. He's been one of the most dominant guys in the welterweight division, one of the best fighters that ever got in the octagon. And until somebody beats him, until I beat him, he remains the champion.
For sure, we're gonna have the butterfly, but the key is to make those butterfly fly in formation. I feel like a poet today, but no,
yeah, very poetic out of you today. That's good.
That's the key, For sure, it's gonna be tough, But I don't want nothing less than a title shot, and fighting the best man in this division is Carlos Condit, and I don't want to come back and fight an easier guy. I want to be the top guy, and I need to fight the top guy, and I need to thank the UFC for the opportunity, and I'm very happy to be here and be fighting him. But I think what makes him so good is very smart guy, He's a thinking fighter. He just doesn't go there and, he's a thinking guy, and that's why he's so good. And the people in his entourage, his coaches, are very smart people too, because I know them. So he's surrounded by a very smart people, his team, and he's a very smart human being as well. That's why I believe over his athletic ability, that's why he's so successful, I believe.
This isn't my first time in this situation. Many times in my career, I've stepped into somebody's backyard. Ultimately, it's going to be George and myself in the cage. His fans, his hometown. Started to say that they can't go in there with him. Ultimately it comes down to who's better prepared, who can implement their game plan, and who can impose their will.
Yeah, Dan Hardy might have done better if some of those fans in England could have gotten in the octagon with him, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. Well, first of all, UFC never offered me or my management any other fight. No other opportunity was brought up. From the beginning, they made it clear that they wanted me to fight George. And also, personally, George is a guy that I've wanted to fight, looked up to in the sport, and basically, wanted that status for a very long time. And George is the best in the world. I want to be the best in the world, so I have to beat George.
Yeah, I was overtrained. And overtrained is not only physically, it's also mentally. Traveling a lot, especially for my camp. Now, instead of traveling a lot, I changed a lot of things in my training. I put more the focus on the recuperation, and also I brought the training partner and trainer from the outside in Montreal instead of me going to them. It costs more money, of course, but I think it's gonna pay off. I think it's a good thing. Yeah, I believe I'm different, and I'm different than when I was. I'm a more improved version. But yes, because I changed my schedule, especially my last fight in Toronto, it was my worst fight. I was kind of burned out, and mentally and physically, and now I don't feel that way now. I'm happy to be here. I have a smile on my face. You used to see me before a fight. I used to be, oh God, another. I was tired, and I want to get to the end right away. But now I try to appreciate every second of everything that I live now. Whoever, if I'm doing the weigh-in, the media, the fight, I want to appreciate and live every second of it, because I appreciate how important it is for me. And I won't be able to live to feel that forever.
What did you think of the style he fought against Nick, A, and B? Do you empathize with the fact that, hey, he went out and won the fight and yet still got criticized?
No, I don't have criticizing for him. I think he did a great fight. And in my book, it was very controversial. But in my book, when I was there seeing it live, I give him the winner for that fight. And I believe he did very well. I believe he hit Nick much more than Nick hit him. So I believe he should have won. I believe it was a good fight. A lot of guys, they would have got this kick to the head, they would have fallen. Nick is a very tough guy. But I believe he did very well. It was a great fight. I loved the fight, by the way. It was one of the greatest fight of the night. It was a good fight.
Well, George's top game is some of the best in the business. I think a lot of the fighters that he's fought in the past are, guys who want to be on top. They're not so much about attacking off the bottom and trying to submit off the bottom. And I think that's where I differ from some of them. I want to be in big fights. I want to be in fights with the most buzz, the most hype around it. A fight with George St-Pierre, his comeback fight in his hometown, is that fight. So that played a big role in the decision. I would have liked to have fought in the meantime, but ultimately I have to look at what's best for my career, and fighting against George St-Pierre was the best thing. I'm honored to have the chance to compete against George. He is somebody that I've admired as a fighter for a long time. But he's where I want to be. He's the top guy in the sport, top guy in the division. He has cemented a legacy as the best welterweight in the world, and that's what I want. So all admiration aside, I'm coming to take that from him.
The truth is, we can make stories and stuff like that to make it more emotional, but we're two competitors that want to be the best at what we do, and that's why we're fighting. It's no stories, no emotion too much involved. They try to make it that way. But I try to focus on the essential. I want to be the best, and he's want to be the best, and that's what we're fighting for, to see who's going to be the undisputed champion. That's it.
Last time you fought in your hometown was in WC in 2008. Obviously, this is a much bigger event, but can you put yourself in his shoes, in GSP's shoes, as far as not having to travel, planes, hotels, all that stuff? Is that an advantage, or sometimes do you feel like it's a disadvantage because you're dealing with a lot when you're fighting in your hometown?
Well, in my experience, the travel, the hotel, that's all kind of part of the lead up to the fight, and that's something I'm used to. Not having that was a little bit odd. And in addition to that, I felt a lot of pressure having my entire hometown, going to be attending the fight. I felt pressure of, really, having to be in the headliner in my hometown, having to represent. So that's my experience. I can't speak for George or how he feels. But that's how it was for me.
Me, personally, my background is karate. I cannot try to be a Muay Thai guy. I use Muay Thai to train, but the way I throw my stuff, I'm more a karate stylist guy, Kyokushin guy. That's my background. I've done it for more than 10 years, so it's hard to change. If you try to change, it's not good. You try to learn from Muay Thai what you can take from it and implement to your game.
We're in this business to fight, to entertain, to sell pay-per-views basically. But I think people got to be true to themselves and not, I don't know. For me, I just gotta be who I am, and other people play characters. They take different roles, and if that works for them, that's great. But I don't mind it, but I think it's cool that when guys can just be respectful also.
I don't feel the need to get a knockout, or because when you want the knockout, they don't happen. What I feel the need at is, I'm gonna tell you, of course I'm scared and everything because anything can happen in the cage. But I don't want, when the fight will be over, when I shake his hand, no matter the outcome of the fight, I shake Carlos' hand, I'll be able to look at him in the eyes and shake his hand and tell him I did my best and I let everything in there no matter what, and I'm sure he want the same thing. I don't want to finish a fight and think, oh, I should have done that, I should have this, I should have... Because when things like this happen, it's the worst thing in your mind, And I don't want this thing happening in my head ever again. I'm going to let everything there, no matter what. Of course, I'm scared, but if I'm scared and I let everything go, it's going to be good,
Do any of you guys miss the camp with Greg? Or you guys are okay with without using him?
It was definitely a change. Greg is a huge part of my camp the last couple fights, and he was missed. I had to bring in 2 or 3 guys to take the place of Greg, because of all his expertise and his experience training fighters. It'll be nice next time around to have him back.
It's the same thing for me. Is Greg very important for me? I don't want to repeat the same thing Carlos just said, but what I think in my mind is I don't have Greg, but Carlos don't have Greg either, so we're equal.